I'm not gonna make this video particularly long because it doesn't deserve to be long. And I'm not gonna make this video to, go through a long, great detailed length about things because people who pay attention to the lore, to the story, etc., then you already know what the fuck happened in Act 9 and Act 10. So I will say this. Glide Keo, once again, showing that he's fucking stupid. And the fact that he once again just spread misinformation and just not giving a fuck about understanding details just feel like proves the point as to why his opinions are shit and why anything he says is just a pile of shit. Okay? So I'm going to quickly debunk these three takes he has because it really just goes to show you just how fucking little his fucking attention span truly is, as well as the people he chose to put in his video to, fertilize his point. And, I'm not going to talk about the whole skip button argument because I already gave my stance on it. If people want to still bitch about it in the year 2026, let them. I do not give a fuck about it. Let them go on and waste their fucking breath on it. So let's talk about the Irminsul thing. People, for some reason, think that Irminsul is a thing for that the Heavenly Principle made. No, it was not. Nahida said so herself that the Hermoso was there during the time when the dragons was there, and if we all know, the Heavenly Principle came soon after that to defeat the dragons, and then they took Hermoso to then remodel it so then that way they can have it be pretty much be a record holder to record to fast history. So that's one thing. So that's why the Heavenly Principle would not care about it burning, especially when the whole, later half, when you fight the Torre and whatnot, when they extract data from Armiso to put onto Aru. And when that happened, Nicole made it that Nahida have a connection to ours, and that way the lifespan wouldn't be as fucked up and would not no longer be connected to Urban Soul. So as far as the Heavenly Principle is concerned, as long as their shit is still intact in terms of the recorded history of Tavad and everything, they could care less about the fucking but they could care less about fucking Urban Soul burning. They could care less about cell burning as long as they still have some shit that they can lean back on. Then it was all fine and dandy.
For the hopes and dreams of the masses.
Open the secret door on this enchanting night. May wisdom's light eradicate ignorance and darkness, and hereby fulfill our ancient vow. Commence data extraction.
So why would they care? Also, to tie in another point that dumbass Kyo said, oh, why isn't Nahida still alive? Why is she not? Why is she ain't RIP? Why is she still affected? It because Nicole connected her to Aru.
Irminsul has a strong influence over you, doesn't it? How will you cope now that it's gone?
There is no need to worry. Thanks to Nicole's extraordinary talents, my connection to Irminsul has been severed and transposed onto Aru. Angels can do things like that? They can. Such abilities are precisely what makes them so powerful. The goddess of flowers, Nabu Malikata, once claimed that she too could perform feats beyond the reach of mere mortals. In my eyes, much of what she went on to achieve reached such transcendent levels. Her and Nicole really are both fascinating and magnificent.
So, does that mean your situation is stable now?
Correct. Just imagine that Aru has become the new Irminsul, and the essence of my existence has been bound to it.
It because it be since all were basically the same and urban, so that's how she can able to still sustain herself. But again, apparently people did not pay attention to that, and apparently people have short fucking attention spans. So that's those 2 points, debunked and done with. Again, I don't know how people missed the part where fucking, you know, when the heat of them explicitly extracting data from Erminso. I guess they was confused. I guess they just thought, hey, shiny beams of light. What is that? But then the whole gnosis thing, because apparently, because apparently, people are on this idea that the gnosis is supposed to make the Archon super strong, or that's the source of their power. Now, I don't know why people think this when the whole Ryan Shogun affair more or less debunked this notion entirely.
After A created her puppet vessel, she no longer had anywhere to put it. As her erstwhile closest friend, A handed it over to me, and I've kept it in the Grand Narukami Shrine ever since. She no longer needs the power of the Gnosis, and in any case, she tells me she has severed ties with Celestia.
Because if you remember, the Ryan Shogun didn't have a gnosis, and she was doing a lot of crazy shit, was she not? I mean, wasn't she fucking cutting down fucking enemies in her path? Wasn't she fucking trying to fuck up Aether at that time, or the Traveler, I should say? Didn't she one-shot at fucking Senora? Didn't she appear out of nowhere and almost caught the Traveler until Gaza came out of nowhere to stop it? She did all that shit she was doing without gnosis. Hell, she was having that fucking A and the Ryan Shogun had that millennium battle they had, and A didn't have fucking gnosis, and yet somehow people are under the impression that gnosis is supposed to be the source of power for the fucking Archons. It's almost as if people are purposely trying to debunk Marika feats.
Surely a gnosis is pretty important to a god.
I guess, but it's not as if losing it would suddenly render us powerless. But I'm sure you don't need me to tell you that. With all the nations you've traveled to, and all the gods you've met, you must have realized that by now. As far as I'm concerned, a gnosis is basically an elemental energy enhancer. But I don't usually use it. You know me. I like to think I'm pretty strong without it.
Yeah, not about to dispute that.
Or Ryan Shogun's feats for that matter. Is, as Marika has said herself, it is basically an enhancer. It's basically an amplifier. That's all it really is. Nothing more, nothing less. If she has it, she can be strong. She can get stronger. If she don't have it, it doesn't really mean anything, especially since she's already strong without it. So how did people after 6 years, especially if they play the fucking Inazuma quest, somehow not know that is beyond me? Either that just means that people just wasn't paying attention to the Inazuma quest, or people that just naturally stupid. But yeah. So yeah, that's pretty much the three main things I decided to take on that. But yeah, Glad Keo, sitting there saying, oh, well, Genshin players are crashing out. They are crashing out, guys. Yeah, it's funny how he picks certain people to, to agree with his narrative. You would think a lore player would be the best example, would it not? I mean, why not use Murder of Birds? Wouldn't he be a perfect example of this? But of course he wouldn't do that. Because fucking Murder Bird will fucking out educate his dumb ass in a microsecond. How about Brian Online? Well, I mean, you can't say that because because he had beef with Brian Online calling his dumb ass out when he last made a fucking misinformed video. So exactly, it fits that he picked certain YouTubers that also did not know what the fuck was going on and also were not paying the fuck attention to help further his narrative about what the fuck is what and everything. I could go on to a 20, 30 minute fucking rant about Glycia, but at this point, is it really that surprising that his dumb ass don't know what the fuck he's talking about? No. Is it a surprise that he once again spreading misinformation? No. Is it a surprise that him and as well as others who did not truly pay attention to the fucking story are just, basically wrong about what the fuck is being talked about? Is it really a surprise? Again, I can go look at Murder Birds, who's a hardcore lore player, and I can guarantee you he would have a better understanding and knowledge about what the fuck is going on than someone like a Glad Keo, who is basically a squatter in the community at this point. Once again, War just ain't cutting it. Their story or their content just ain't getting the fucking views he needs. So the next best thing is to hop on the bandwagon to shit on Genshin. Him and seeing others do this almost frequently. And yet these are the same people that claim that Wuthering Waves is the greatest game of all time, and yet they don't make 6 or 7 fucking videos talking about it. Isn't that weird? But hey, it is what it is. So that's all I wanted to talk about. Glad Key is a fucking idiot. I mean, I already established it many times before, and I'm sure people like Cali the Apple will eventually get to his video and probably rip it the fuck apart. And and it's a good thing he's not on Twitter no more, because I'm sure people would have ripped Live Keel's ass apart if he was on Twitter saying this bullshit. But hey, I guess that's the benefits of not being on Twitter and having your cult subscribers on YouTube, so that way they can just buy into your bullshit in the comment section and whatnot. I will say this in passing. I will say this in passing. Isn't it funny, in a way, that I remember Nigeria's perspective was talking about how Chisa was going to have this big moment in the next few story quests. I remember how he was trying to debunk the whole hate that War was getting because they wasn't handling Chisa's fucking character well. And he went out of his way to predict this idea that Chisa was gonna have this big epic moment in 3.2 or 3.3. And yet from what I've seen and from what I heard, Chisa was simply there, not doing jack diddly shit. Not doing anything. Not remotely doing shit. And I remember saying in Calvary Yappa's video, in his live stream yesterday, I remember saying that, not throwing shade, but it's funny how Jet is more remembered in Genshin than that Chisa. Isn't that wild? A basically NBC World Quest character that had what, 2 world quests was thought about that much to be put in the main story, voiced at that, to be part of this whole thing of stopping the Torre. But then Chisa, a character that's supposed to be important for what the Nigerian perspective would say, that was going to have this epic moment, end up not being used or end up being fucking thrown to the wayside. Because as far as Wu is concerned, if your ban is done, then you're done as a character. But remember, guys, according to Glad Keo, Genshin have bad storytelling. And according to Nigerian perspective, War has great storytelling and putting all these other stories or gotcha stories on Fraud Watch. Sure. Keep sipping that copium, guys.